Hi guys. So I wanted to do a watercolor lesson. Some of you got this during the morning meeting, but I also said that we would be having it here just so that you have it in case you forget a step or if you want to go back and watch over the process or to learn more of what you're doing with your color wheel. So I'm going to do that. I am going to turn the camera so that you can see in just a moment. The first thing I wanted to talk about with our Artist of the Month, Joan Hill, you have the information sheet about her. She used a lot of warm and cool colors, but I also want to talk about the difference between primary and secondary colors. So primary colors are colors that you cannot get by mixing other colors. So those are red, yellow, and blue. And secondary colors are other colors that we usually think of in the rainbow that we get by mixing those primary colors. So those secondary colors are orange, green, and purple. So I did a paint example here. We've got our primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. And our secondary colors, orange we get by mixing red and yellow. Green we get by mixing yellow and blue. You can see how it's green in the middle there. And purple we get by mixing red and blue. And you can see I've got a little bit of purple in the middle there. So that will become relevant once we get to your color wheel here. I am going to turn the camera, like I said, so that you can see the watercolors that I'm working with. So that will be easier to do. So the watercolors I'm working with are these guys. So I have my paints, my paintbrush, I have a paper towel, and I have my paper. I am painting on a different hard surface than this table because it has slight divots in it, which would make it hard to paint. And I also have my water cup, and then I have my copy of the color wheel that we gave you guys earlier this week. So to start with for watercolors, one thing that you do need for watercolors as opposed to acrylic is water. If I had just tried to paint on this without water on my brush and put it over here, it would not work. So what I'm going to do to get water on my brush is I'm going to put my brush in the water, kind of swirl it around a bit, get it pretty wet, and then I'm going to squeeze out the excess water, because if you've painted with watercolors before, you know that if you get too much water, your paint turns into a soupy mess that you can't really use. So I'm going to start with blue this time. So I'm going to very gently brush my brush in here. I'm not going to jab it in and mix it around. I'm going to very gently brush it across till I have some paint, and then I'm going to take it over to my paper here. And I'm going to also very gently brush my paint on. Now my paint right now is very dark. If I wanted to have it be darker, I could get some more paint on my brush and do it that way. If I want it to be lighter, I could get some more water on my brush. But again, I don't want too much water. I'm going to knock it off a little bit on their side, and I am also going to pinch that out before I come and add more over here though. And then I can start to get a lighter blue up on top of my blue here. I'm gonna get some more paint. There we go. And then I can have a lighter blue once I have more water than I do paint. This is just printer paper, so it's not going to show up as well as it would on cardstock or on watercolor paper. The one thing that you do want to always be careful with is that you're not getting your stuff too wet. Because then again, it will either turn into a mess on your paper or in your paint tray. If you do have your paint tray become a bit of a mess when you are done to clean up, you can take your paper towel, get a little bit of it wet, and run it in between your paints here to get the leftover paint up from in between. I have some from the last time this set was used. And then comes off on the paper towel, and then if you leave your paint tray open to dry, it will keep that paint on it. So on to your color wheel. So I'm going to switch these out. So your color wheel, I'm going to turn the camera back up for just a moment. All right, so your color wheel is this guy. I have some paintings done on it already, but it has a section for warm colors and a section for cool colors. So if you remember, our primary colors were that red, yellow, and blue, which is over here. So you're going to want to paint those first, and then each of these in between, first of all, you have your secondary colors. You have purple, green, and orange. As a reminder, if you are in elementary 1, so kindergarten through year 2, you are allowed to use the secondary colors in your paint set. So you can use that orange, green, and purple there. If you are in elementary 2, you need to try and mix them for this. Elementary 1, if you want to try and mix it, you are more than welcome to. But you're going to paint those primary and secondary colors first. So paint your red, your orange, your yellow, green, blue, and purple. Because from there, what you're going to do is between my orange and my red here, I have one that's labeled red orange. So I'm going to mix my colors to make that red orange, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. Once I get this set up here. Okay. Here we go. All right, so for red orange, I'm going to get my brush wet again, squeeze it out. I'm going to start with the darker color first. I have found is more helpful. And I'm going to kind of go over that a little bit. I got a little bit of paint outside the square, but I'm going to try really hard not to do that. I'm going to go over here, really fast, get the paint off my brush, squeeze it out, and I'm going to go to, not my orange, my orange. And I'm going to mix that there and add it on top so I get a color that is in between red and in between orange if you are in elementary 1. If you are in elementary 2, what you're going to do for this one is when you make your orange, you're going to probably want to have up here that similar color. So I'm going to mix some at the top of my tray. I'm going to get some red. And that is what the top of your tray is for mixing. Some red. Gonna get that off of there. And some orange and mix them together. You could also mix up there for that and then come down here and wash it over that way. Actually for elementary 2 is you would then take the orange color that you've made from yellow. Some more yellow up here. And red. And you would then mix that, put that down as your lighter original color. And then add some more red to it. So any of those methods work well, and you are welcome to use them. I'm going to go back up here and paint a little bit more of my orange up at the top with my red and yellow because I didn't quite get that done earlier. To the exact shade that I want it to be. So I'm going to go back in for that. If your paper, again, gets too wet in between and needs time to dry, you might have to take a break from this and let it dry before you come back to it. That's okay if you have to do that, perfectly fine. This actually isn't a project that you should really be finishing in a day. It should honestly take you a little bit of time if you're going in carefully with each of those squares. So yeah. And then if you really, oh, I got some yellow paint on my color wheel. If you really want to, you could try and make brown or black in the middle by mixing other colors, but you do not have to. So that is what you're going to do for your color wheel. You're going to go all the way around with that. And then next week we'll be giving you another color wheel assignment to do. And that is how you will do your watercolor painting and your color wheel. And I hope y'all have a great day and have fun painting. You're also welcome to paint a picture on your practice paper. Go for it. Fun times. And with that, you can do whatever you want as long as you're using the watercolor techniques correctly. One last thing, if you do mix colors up at the top of your tray, when you are done, go in with your paper towel and get those out so that you can actually mix up there again another time. Otherwise, you're going to be very stuck with a bunch of gross colors up there that will then also bleed into your paints. Let your paints stay open to dry, and your brush you will rinse out in the sink and then also leave in your paint tray to dry. So don't close it until everything is dry. Have a great day, guys.